Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 205. Distribute the houses and farmland. At present, the most important thing was to solve the accommodation problem of nearly 30,000 people. It was impossible to build the houses to be of such high grade. Therefore, except for the county government office and the school, the structure of each houses was the same. It was a 3-large-room house. Despite that, enough space was left behind each house so that after the house was distributed, if the householder had enough financial resources, they could add or renovate the house with their own money. All the houses were sturdy with no cheat in its construction or cut down on materials. When all the farmland and houses had been taken care of, the first cultivated land could not be left unattended for at least another 3 to 4 months. This season was not suitable for planting wheat. After asking the local farmers, Mian had people buy seeds suitable for planting in that season from other counties, including sweet potato, corn, cucumber, water spinach, waxgourd, celery, tomato, pepper, and so on. The planting was done on a proportional base of 3 mu of corn field, 1 mu of sweet potato field, and 1 mu of vegetable field in every 5 mu of farmland. As the saying goes, the mountain is high, the emperor is far away. Having nothing to worry about the imperial court finding any abnormality, he and LIAN quietly used some spiritual spring water to improve the soil quality, at least to ensure that all the seeds could grow smoothly. In the beginning, the civilians had a very bad impression of the new magistrate. After a period of time, they discovered that the new magistrate truly did things for their own good. They then respected him from the bottom of their hearts and worked harder and more willingly. During the day, the civilians worked together, and at night, they rested in the houses that had been built. Perhaps it was because they had experienced the great disaster together that they got along very well. Even if there were some big or small contradictions, they could quickly let go of their heart knots after being advised by others. Great things could be done with collective effort. In the middle of the 7th month, the road from the new Kui County to the outside of the mountain was completed. In the middle of the 10th month, all the farmland had opened up for farming and all kinds of crops had been planted. In the first seed-planted fields, vegetables had already been picked several times. By the end of the 12th month, all the houses in the new county had been built. Standing on the mountainside overlooking the new county, everyone's eyes were full of joy, surprise, and pride. One could see that the large and small blocks of well-planned farmlands were like the squares on a chessboard, surrounded by a wide lake. On the outskirts of the chains of farmlands, 24 rows of houses formed 6 shapes of different sizes in a close-fitting, parallel to each other and looking very neat. Among them, there were 16 rows of brick houses, 4 rows of wooden houses, and 4 rows of bamboo houses. On the account that the wooden and bamboo houses were less warm than the brick and tile houses, their area was increased. There were 2 floors. The design drawing was provided by Mian. It was beautiful in appearance and very likable. In addition, there were 4 watchtowers in the 4 corners of the county, which was to better play the role of Kui County in guarding the border of the country. The open area to the east was the military camp. In short, the new Kui County was more well-liked than the former Kui County. The next important thing to do was to distribute the farmland and houses. There were some households that only had 1 person left and some had 5 to 6 people. Therefore, Mian carefully considered how to distribute the farmland and houses before he made the final decision. The farmland would be distributed according to the head count, whether it was a dying old man or a newborn baby, male or female, everyone could get 1 mu of farmland. As for who got which farmlands, it was decided by drawing lots. Since the first planted farmland had already yielded and the seeds sown later had not germinated yet, the county government would give the people who drew up the later sown farmland certain subsidies according to the actual situation, at least to ensure that they could survive until the next spring. After all, there were nearly 30,000 people, so it was impossible to achieve absolute fairness. For example, the farmland close to the lake were more convenient for irrigation. The houses would be distributed by drawing lots. The population of the county was counted before the reconstruction. If there was only 1 person in the household, the person had no right to own a house exclusively and had to share a house with others. It was not unfair since a household with only one member certainly had less capabilities than a household with a large number of members. To make an example, if there were several households with only one unmarried girl or one widowed woman or one old lady, they all could share a house. If a certain household wanted two certain adjacent houses, it was also fine. After the distribution, the household could discuss with the neighbors, whether to rent or buy the houses. That's their own business, it was not under the jurisdiction of the county magistrate anymore. There were other more detailed rules. Mian made it clear and told people to write them in detail and put up the official notices on the 4 bulletin boards specially set up in the county. All the people naturally went to think about them carefully. The next day at the beginning of the hour of Chen, they had to gather at the drill ground for the distribution of houses and farmland. The next day, all the civilians of the county had a whole breakfast and came to the drill ground early. This was the first major event after the establishment of the new county. The school also gave the students a holiday. There was a lot of noise and excitement in the drill ground. Prefect K knew a few days in advance that Quay County was going to conduct the distribution of farmland and houses, so he also came. There were 3 sets of tables and chairs on the drill ground. Mian, LIAN, and Prefect K were all there. In front of LIAN were 2 big boxes for drawing lots, one with red cloth and the other with blue cloth. Mian had a list and a map of the new county in front of him. This list was, of course, to prevent people from fishing in troubled waters. The official notice stated that if someone lied about the population of his or her household, a reward will be given to the one who made the report and those who intended to cheat would be severely punished. Mian looked around. When he estimated that almost all the people had arrived, he went to the front. All quiet. It soon quieted down below. Now, it's time to distribute the farmland and the hoe. Before Mian finished his words, the civilians began to clamor. County magistrate, you pick a house and a few mu of land first. Yes, the county magistrate is a good official. It should be so. That's right, the county magistrate has 2 children. He should pick 2 houses. Ruki and Lei Rulan stood by and smiled at each other. They were proud of their Adai being treated in such admiration. Mian's heart felt so warm that his gaze became gentle. This period of hard work where they invested much time and energy was worth it. In this case, this official won't be polite. I'll pick a house. As for the farmland, no need. After the farmlands have been distributed to everyone, if there is any extra, I'll pick a few mu to plant on. One after another, the civilians asked him to pick a few mu of farmland. Mian waved to stop them. No need to say any more. Our family chooses the first bamboo story house in the first row in the south. All right, now it's time to draw lots. Whoever comes up, please state your names, as well as the number of people in your household. He spoke with the aid of vital spirit. It was loud enough to make sure everyone could hear him clearly. Then, he returned to his seat. Number 1. At the top of the list was a man in his early 30s. With a happy face, he quickly ran up the steps. Because he was too excited, he almost fell down. Everyone could not restrain from laughing. He, with a simple and honest grin, the man ran to the table, knelt, and kowtowed. Paying respects to the 3 officials. This lowly one is called Chen the First. There are 5 people in my household. Don't be formal. Get up. Mian said, grab 1 paper ball in the red clothed box and 5 paper balls in the blue clothed box. The red clothed box was used to distribute houses, while the blue clothed box was used to distribute farmland. Yes. The man grabbed the paper balls out and handed them to Mian. Mian opened the 6 paper balls, which read East 0211, South 0511, West 0304, West 1023, West 1023, West 1024, and North 0101. Mian said, Chen the first. House is the 11th in the second row in the east, farmlands are the 11th in the fifth row of south farmland. And the 11th in the first row of north farmland. LIAN and Prefect K each kept a record. One was kept to handle the house deed and land deed. The other one was handed to the soldiers on standby to lead the Chen household to identify their house and land. Chen the First's eyes were filled with tears. Now, they owned a house and more land than they used to have, how could he not be excited? He called his awaiting family and happily followed the soldier to leave. Next. More and more people were assigned houses and land. The atmosphere on the drill ground became more and more warm. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan watched for a long time and found it very interesting. Grr, if only we could go a draw lots once, said Lei Rulan with regret. Although Qin Rulan didn't open his mouth, he seemed very interested by the look on his face. At the side, an old man standing in line heard it and beckoned them with a smile. Come. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan were very polite and didn't at all put on the air of a noble young master. Only a few people in the county didn't know them. They were very popular. When they heard someone calling, they walked over in quick steps. Great-grandfather. Ah! The old man stroked his beard. This old man is old and my arms are not as flexible. Later, how about you two help this old man draw lots? Qin Ruki understood that the old man intended to let him and his ditty satisfy their curiosity. I'm afraid if we draw a bad location, we'll disappoint great-grandfather. The old man was still smiling, it doesn't matter. This old man and my family are capable. Even if you draw a bad location, we won't live worse than others. The two brothers looked at each other and smiled. Well, my Gurgr and I will draw good ones for you. Lei Rulan grinned at him. The two brothers had been losing their milk teeth recently. There was only one upper incisor left. Yet, Lei Rulan's smile did not make people think it was unsightly, rather, it was full of innocence and loveliness. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 206. Return to one's hometown and live in seclusion. Soon, it was the old man's turn. When Qin Mian saw his two sons running up, he raised his eyebrows. With his hands behind his back, Lei Rulan assumed an air of self-approbation as he said, Dai, we're here to help great-grandfather Chen Yuya draw lots. There are 6 people in great-grandfather's family. Qin Mian took a look at the old man, who nodded with a smile. He then signaled that his 2 sons could do it. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan had a tacit understanding. Qin Ruki grabbed a paper ball from the red-clothed box, while Lei Rulan grabbed 6 paper balls from the blue-clothed box. Qin Mian opened the paper balls and read, Chen Yuyu. House, 3rd house of the first row on the west. Farmland, 5th plot of the first row in the east, 9th plot of the first row in the east. 1st plot of the second row in the south. The others all looked at Chen Yuyu with envy. Almost all the 6 plots were in the first and second rows, which were near the lake where irrigation would be very convenient. Chen Yuyu was also very happy and laughed, many thanks, little young masters. Others felt that the 2 sons of the county magistrate's family were rich in fortune. They asked Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan to draw lots for them. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan enthusiastically helped more than a dozen people. The location of the houses and farmlands that they've drawn was really good. But the 2 boys soon lost interest, so they apologized and ran away. In order to draw people's goodwill, Qin Mian, Lei Tie, and Prefect K assumed personal command all morning. The armed servants all knew Arabic numerals. Therefore, in the afternoon, Qin Mian handed over the work to Lei Qin Zhong and others to do it. Qin Mian and Lei Tie took their 2 children home first. There were 2 floors in the bamboo house. The kitchen, main hall, Qin Ruki's and Lei Rulan's study were on the first floor while Qin Mian's and Lei Tie's study were on the ground floor. The family's bedrooms were all on the second floor. However, due to limited conditions, the layout of the house was not comparable to their previous house. When it was near dark, all the civilians had been given their granted houses and farmland. Their enthusiasm was so high that they could not wait to move into their new homes. They lit the torches and moved. The dark county was filled with the gleam of the fire. Mian and LIAN had been busy for a day. Only after they had a bath and lay in bed did they finally enjoyed some leisure time. Tired, LIAN pulled the person who shared his bed into his arms. With his chin on LIAN's shoulder, Mian nodded, more tired than before. As a cultivator, the recent labor intensity was nothing but compared with the previous life, these months were indeed the most tiring. Yet, undeniably, they were very substantial. LIAN's hand slowly went into Mian's nightclothes. As soon as they moved, the bamboo bed squeaked and the whole bamboo house wobbled. They were both stunned. LIAN's crisp childish voice sounded across the corner. "Ah Dai, Lao Dai, you haven't slept yet? Gurgr and I aren't asleep yet, too." Mian lay on top of LIAN and laughed on his chest. "Shouldn't have picked a bamboo house," LIAN said in a depressed tone, "the soundproofing isn't good." Mian laughed despite himself. "Ruki and Rulin, quickly go to sleep. Your Lao Dai and myself are going to sleep." LIAN created a soundproofing spiritual array and took a certain someone into his arms. This was not to say that things were over after the farmland and houses had been distributed into the hands of the people. Mian recruited some upright and resilient young people to work as bailiffs in the county, and asked Lei Zhong and Lei Shun to take them to the farmland for an on-site investigation. In case that a certain household was too unlucky that most or possibly all of the plots distributed were sown last, the county would take out some money to compensate them. In addition, Mian also asked LIAN to lend some people who were good at hunting, and opened a hunting training class in the county to teach people how to hunt, so that those with poorer family conditions could support their families through hunting. In any way, they had to pass the winter first. Because everyone was busy making a living, there was almost no criminal activity in the county. Mian, as the county magistrate, was quite relaxed. He and LIAN also took time to run outside the mountain, bought a lot of good things for their sons, and decorated their rooms nicely. In a twinkling of an eye, the new year came. This year, most of the people in Kui County had a relatively plain New Year's celebration. Although Mian's family had that conditions, it was neither as eye-catching. On New Year's Eve, they only cooked 2 meat dishes and 2 vegetable dishes, a total of 4 dishes, but they were fulfilling. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, everyone still went out to pay a New Year's visit. Ruki and Lei Rulin received a lot fewer red envelopes than in previous years. These red envelopes were given by the civilians, almost all sealed with one wen. Ruki and Lei Rulin were very sensible. They originally refused to accept them. However, everyone believed that it was not appropriate to push others' blessings out during the Lunar New Year, so they simply pressed the boys to accept. The boys could only accept them. When people went to pay the New Year's visit to Mian's house, Mian didn't treat anyone badly. As long as they were under the age of 16, he would give them a 20 wen red envelope in the name of him and LIAN. The first month passed in a plain yet lively atmosphere. At the beginning of the 3rd month, spring returned. The civilians seized the time to plow and prepare to plant spring wheat and other crops. Mian also launched the next step in the development of Kui County. The current Kui County had only rows of houses and farmland. There was not even a tree in the county, so it had no aesthetic feeling. Mian called on the surplus labor force to follow him up the mountain to dig some wild flowers and fruit trees such as duckbill, winter jasmine, rhododendron pulchrum sweet, pennywort, azalea, amur rose, wild jujube, wild peach, wild pear, wild apple, wild grape, and so on, and then planted them in every corner of the county in a planned way. Mian did not plan to stay in Kui County, so he did not spend too much thought on his bamboo house. He only planted 2 fruit trees in front of the door and a few potted flowers on the balcony on the 2nd floor. Not wanting to treat his two sons badly, Mian occasionally took out some fruits and vegetables from the magical space. When Ruki and Lei Rulan saw for the first time how things appeared out of nowhere, they asked their father how was that possible. Their father only laughed and did not answer. The two children guessed that it might not be suitable for them to know, so they wisely chose not to ask any more. In fact, the two children had long suspected that their martial arts were not an internal force type of martial arts, but since their two fathers needed to hide it from them, there must be a reason. They were sure that they would know when the time was right. The next step was road construction. LIAN sent 5,000 people to find limestone within 20 li of the nearby area. After it was transported back, Mian made a simple version of cement, which was not as strong as concrete but more than enough for road construction. They were busy until the 7th month. With wide and smooth roads, it was much easier for the people of Kwai County to get in and out of the city, and the development of agriculture and commerce became faster and more efficient. Everyone could see that their lives were getting better and better. Mian and LIAN sent the third memorial asking for resignation to the capital, but there was still no reply. Mian began to get impatient. Tai, Chen Guanghui isn't getting fat from to eating his words, is he? What's the point of his forcing us to stay here? Chen Guanghui was the real name of Emperor Xiaowai. Normally, no one dared to address him by his actual name as it was deemed disrespectful. LIAN had a plan in his heart. He comforted, "Wife, wait another half a month. If there is no result after half a month, we'll publicize the deal we made with him." Good idea. Mian agreed without hesitation. They couldn't deal with an emperor directly, but they could use the power of public opinion. At this time, a soldier in a panic outside the door shouted, "Grand General and Darin. This lowly one has something urgent to see you both." Mian and LIAN looked at each other in suspicion and went downstairs together. The situation of the whole county was under their control. What could this urgent matter possibly be? "What's the matter?" the soldier said in an urgent voice, reporting to the Grand General. "Prefect K sent someone to deliver a message that the imperial carriage has arrived and order Grand General and Darin to prepare for the welcoming immediately." Emperor Xiaowai came? Mian was very surprised and said to LIAN, "The capital is not close at all. He's really brave." "Wife, it won't be long before we can go back to Green Mountain Village," said LIAN in a calm and composed manner. "Oh." Mian was not in a hurry to ask him why. They put on their official uniforms and directly performed their qinggong, going to the county government office and the military camp respectively. They took all the bailiffs and soldiers to the entrance of the county to prepare for the welcoming. After waiting for nearly an hour, a long procession could be seen getting closer and closer. The emperor's unique golden canopy was shining under the sun. Dressed in a bright yellow robe, Emperor Xiaowai sat on the spacious throne as he looked at the scenery on both sides of the road at will. The majestic imperial guards guarded the imperial carriage in the middle, sharp eyes looking around from time to time. When the imperial carriage arrived in front of them, Mian and LIAN knelt together to pay respect. "This subject gladly welcomes your majesty the emperor." "Long live the emperor, long may you reign." Emperor Xiaowai looked at them for a long time. Just from seeing the road outside of the mountain, he had expected that Mian and LIAN had never lied about the completion of Kwai County's reconstruction in the reports. Because of this, he was more reluctant to let go of such two outstanding talents. But he knew from the bottom of his heart that this time, he couldn't keep Mian and LIAN. It was not that he didn't have any means to use, but he had a premonition that once he really used underhanded methods to deal with them, it would only build enmity between them. It's better to let them go amicably. In case the imperial clan encountered hard strife again, he could still call on them and reinstate them. After thinking about it, Emperor Xiaowai took a deep breath in silence and said in a warm voice, "My dear subjects, you may rise." "Many thanks, Your Majesty." Mian and LIAN stood up and retreated to the side, awaiting orders. Emperor Xiaowai gently dusted the non-existent dust on his sleeve and slowly stepped down from the imperial carriage to Qin Mian and Lei Tie. With a look of kindness, he gently spoke, "Ha ha ha. Hope that my dear subjects are well. Thanks to your majesty's great blessing, this subject and everyone are well," replied Lei Tie concisely and comprehensively. Emperor Xiaowai said with a smile, "That's good." In the memorials, Zhen first was curious when my dear subjects kept mentioning the new appearance of Kui County. Secondly, Zhen yearned for the idyllic scenery, so Zhen decided to come and see it for myself. If the new Kui County pleases Zhen, Zhen will allow you two to return to your hometown in the countryside. Qin Mian was overjoyed and exchanged a look with Lei Tie. "Thanking your majesty. This way, please, your majesty. Lead the way." With a broad smile on his lips, Emperor Xiaowai waved his hand and walked forward with Qin Mian and Lei Tie. Eunuch Li, Prefect K, and several other officials quickly followed. End of Volume 4. Minwei Qi Nan. Volume 5, A Man's Way of Dealing with Feelings. Chapter 207. Return to one's hometown in glory. Although he said to lead the way, Qin Mian and Lei Tie could not actually walk in front of Emperor Xiaowai. When they entered the county, Emperor Xiaowai was in front of them, while Qin Mian and Lei Tie followed behind him. The well-arranged houses, green farmland, and clear blue lake gave Emperor Xiaowai a panoramic view. He looked satisfied and nodded from time to time. In the distant farmland, the farmer with his hoe on his shoulder, chatted with the farmer in the next plot while laughing heartily. His face was facing the sun, the satisfaction in life that was reflected in his smile touched people's hearts. Under the willow trees, children of different ages played a chasing game, the clear and tender children's voices were full of joy. From time to time, the housewife, who was washing clothes on the blue stone slab by the lake, scolded them loudly. Although she was scolding them, her voice was absolutely full of love for the children. Qin Mian and Lei Tie didn't use resplendent words to tell Emperor Xiaowai how much thought and energy they spent on rebuilding Kui County. They looked calm and indifferent, unmoved either by gain or loss. Eunuch Li could see it clearly and could not help but feel sorry for the emperor, who was going to lose his two great officials. Emperor Xiaowai was infected by the quiet and peaceful atmosphere in the county. He forgot the incoming resignation of Qin Mian and Lei Tie and laughed a few times from the heart. "Good, good. Follow Zhen ahead to take a look." Emperor Xiaowai took the lead in entering the farmland as the others kept up. At this time, the weeding farmers in the farmland finally noticed a large group in the distance. They knew that only the emperor could wear bright gold color. After being taken aback, they quickly guessed the identity of the man. They were so terrified that they turned pale and knelt on the ground in confusion. Emperor Xiaowai stepped forward and said to the nearest old man in kind, "Old man, quickly get up." The old man felt overwhelmingly flattered that his legs gave way. He stood upright after a good while. Emperor Xiaowai gently called the nearby farmers to ask about their age, the harvest in the farmland, their family, and so on. The few young men were more daring, summoned up courage as they answered. Several old people were encouraged and joined in the conversation. It was hard to dislike Emperor Xiaowai's closeness. For a time, one person with a heavenly identity and several people with humble identity had a good talk. An 8-year-old child even ran over after picking a big red peach from a tree. Eunuch Li's face changed slightly. He was about to step forward but was stopped by Emperor Xiaowai. Emperor Xiaowai believed that Qin Mian and Lei Tie had managed Kui County well. He peeled the peach with a smile and bit it, sweet. That was only natural. The living standards of the people in the mountains were indeed much worse than those in the plains. Qin Mian intended to help them. When he planted these fruit trees, they had been watered with the spiritual spring water properly. Therefore, Kui County's fruits tasted very sweet. "Thank you very much for your hospitality, little one." Emperor Xiaowai kindly rubbed the child's head. The child returned with a pure smile and face full of innocence. The father of the child was so emotionally moved that his hands trembled and he nearly fainted. Mian tried hard to suppress a smile. He was afraid that the father would not let his son wash his hair for the next 10 days. After walking around the farmland, Mian and LIAN led Emperor Ziyuai into the streets. Emperor Ziyuai randomly selected several households to visit and was very satisfied. At this time, Emperor Ziyuai was also a little tired. He asked Mian and LIAN to take him to their home. LIAN instructed the imperial bodyguards to organize a defense perimeter first. By the time Mian, LIAN and Emperor Ziyuai arrived, Mian's house was surrounded as solidly as an iron cask. Mian arranged for Emperor Ziyuai to take a rest in the master bedroom, accompanied by eunuch Li. Mian asked the two imperial chefs, who came with Emperor Ziyuai, what food ingredients they needed to prepare. He bought various meat and then went to the vegetable garden to pick some vegetables. Emperor Ziyuai had a rest for nearly 2 hours. Mian and LIAN had lunch with him. In the afternoon, Mian and LIAN took Emperor Ziyuai to visit the school and several skills training classes in the county. Emperor Ziyuai praised Mian's measures. Although the merchant was ranked last among the category of scholar, farmer, smith, and merchant, Emperor Ziyuai never thought that merchants were unimportant. For example, in the Battle of Toluo, the total amount of donations from merchants alone was more than 10 million taels, and the annual trading tax was one of the important sources of tax revenue in the imperial court. Since Emperor Ziyuai had come all the way, he couldn't leave after the on-spot inspection. The next morning, Mian and LIAN took him to experience the fun of picking fruits and vegetables in person. When he saw that someone was farming in the field, Emperor Ziyuai went to experience it. He scared the accompanying officials into a drastic change of expression, who feared that the ox would suddenly go mad and hurt Emperor Ziyuai. Emperor Ziyuai knew that Mian and LIAN would guard him, so he was very calm. He had a great time. At the sight of Emperor Ziyuai, many people became even fonder of him. In their hearts, the emperor was the highest figure in their life. Who would have thought that they would not only see the emperor in their lifetime but also teach the emperor how to plow? After 4 days in Kui County, Emperor Ziyuai was going to set out to return to the capital. This time, Emperor Ziyuai brought Kui County a new county magistrate and directly kept him there. Emperor Ziyuai asked Mian and LIAN to return to the capital with him for the formal resignation. Emperor Ziyuai had a good intention. If Mian and LIAN returned to Green Mountain Village directly from Kui County, he was afraid that the officials in the court would think that they as if they were forced into the cold palace by Emperor Ziyuai. If Mian and LIAN were in trouble later, they might be bullied by an official. It was different if they went back to the capital with Emperor Ziyuai, which showed that Emperor Ziyuai still attached importance to them. Mian and LIAN were not stupid. They had also thought of this. Thus, they accepted Emperor Ziyuai's favor. On the day of their departure, when the civilians learned that Mian and LIAN would leave Kui County, they were so shocked that they all knelt in tears as they were reluctant for them to leave. Mian was a good county magistrate. Although LIAN had not spoken much and seemed cold, the amount of effort he had made to rebuild Kui County was not unknown to them. Darren and General Lei, we can't bear to part with you. Darren and General Lei, have a smooth journey. Darren and General Lei, both are good officials. Emperor Ziyuai was surprised and sighed, if all the officials of Great Xia are like my dear subjects Lei and Qin, how can Great Xia worry about not being strong? The accompanying officials all agreed with their heads down. The new county magistrates watched the civilians send Mian and LIAN one li after another. The blood in his chest suddenly boiled, his fists involuntarily clenched tightly. If one day he could make these people willing to do the same for him, he believed that he would die without regret. There was no need to say more on the way back to the capital. After returning to the capital, Mian and LIAN formally handed in their resignations. Emperor Xiaowei removed Lei Tie from the post of State Defender Grand General and Qin Mian from the post of Kui County Magistrate, but retained Lei Tie's title of State Defender Duke and Qin Mian's title of Lady of the State Defender Duke. Qin Ruqi was still the heir of State Defender Duke and Lei Rulan was still the Duke of An County. Not only that, but he also ordered the imperial bodyguards to escort Qin Mian's family back to their hometown, which was a great honor. Chen Mufeng, Zhang Xunhe and Lei Xiangji saw them off on the tower over the city gate. I don't know why, I always feel that once they leave, the capital will become more boring. Chen Mufeng was holding a 6-month-old baby in his arms, whose chubby appearance was adorable. Zhang Xunhe gently poked little brother Chen in the face. So what? If it's boring, we'll go to Zhaoxian County. Then, that's a promise, said Chen Mufeng. Lei Xiangji faintly smiled as he watched Qin Mian and the others drifting farther away. He hoped that his eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law would get better and better in the future. Last year, he was promoted to a subsidiary 4th-rank Grand Secretariat Academician Reader-in-Waiting. He believed in himself that he would also get better and better in the future. After leaving the capital, Qin Mian, Lei Tie, Qin Ruqi, and Lei Rulan were relaxed in both body and mind. In the spacious carriage, the family played Quick Escape, a card game that Qin Mian introduced to them. Quick Escape, as the name suggested, is a game in which whomever card was the first to finish was the winner. Qin Mian, Qin Ruqi, and Lei Rulan joined hands, so Lei Tie's forehead was pasted with slips of paper. The father and sons laughed merrily from time to time. The armed servants outside the carriage could not refrain from smiling in understanding when they heard the laughter. Laying on Qin Mian's legs, Dian Bai tilted its head to look at the cards in his hand. Sometimes, its ears perked up and folded, and sometimes it tilted its head. It seemed that it clearly understood. Standing on the top of the carriage, Jinying flapped its wings at will. Now and then, it flew up and circled in the air, then it landed and looked around lazily. Jin Simo's body was too big, so it was put in another carriage. It took Qin Mian's family more than a month before they entered Zhaoyang County. Niheng, their old friend, received the news long ago and met them at the intersection. After lunch at Niheng's house, the procession continued to set out and entered Green Mountain Village in the evening. The summer's day was long. The villagers gathered under the trees at the entrance of the village to enjoy the cool breeze. Some were reinforcing the sole of a shoe, some were eating, some were playing chess, and some were chatting. Wu De keenly saw the approaching familiar carriage, which made him abruptly stood up. He was surprised and said, "Isn't that Tai Sui's family?" "Oh, that's true. The soldiers are even escorting them? This is returning to one's hometown in glory." As they talked, they went over to welcome and warmly greeted the family. "Tai Sui's wife, you're back, hey. You've had a long day, isn't it? You're back, everyone misses you so much." Some children could not wait to ask, "Uncle Qin, are Yuan and Manman back?" Yuan, Manman. Even Jin Simo and Dian Bai. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 208. Comfort. As soon as the carriage stopped, Qin Ruqi and Lei Rulan jumped steadily out of the carriage and were immediately surrounded by joyful friends. Qin Mian and Lei Tie get off the carriage afterward. Qin Mian greeted the villagers with a smile. "Hope that everyone is well." Qin Mian and Lei Tie had been officials for a long time. The villagers had heard about it. At this time, they saw that Qin Mian did not put on the airs of an official and was as polite as before. They were very comfortable and had a more sincere smile on their faces. "Good, we're all good." Wu De was happy to see them again and asked with a smile, "How are you?" "We're good, too." Qin Mian said with a smile, "Thank you for your concern for our family. You see, we have a lot of guests today, please excuse us. We'll invite everyone to dine with us on another day." The villagers said, one after another, all right, we won't hold you up." You do what you need to do first. Ruki and Rulin, are you going to play here or come home with us? Qin Mian asked his two sons. Lei Rulin said, Gerger and I will play here for a while, Adai. All right. Qin Mian took a packet of confectionery from the carriage and handed it to the two brothers. Share this snack with everyone. Qin Ruki promised, Adai can rest assured. Dian Bai, Jin Simo Pi, and Jinying followed him and Lei Rulin. Qin Mian and Lei Tie got back on the carriage and led the imperial bodyguards to leisurely farmhouse. When Uncle Chuan, Aunt Chuan, and the others received the news, they quickly ran over. They were very excited to see the two masters again. Qin Mian told Steward Fu to arrange for the imperial bodyguards to stay in Kailan Mountain Villa. As the carriage drove into leisurely farmhouse, Qin Mian couldn't wait and jumped out of the carriage, looking around and yearning. Lei Tie came up to Qin Mian and put his arm around Qin Mian's shoulders. Qin Mian pulled him forward, walking briskly and looking cheerful. He went to the pomegranate tree and picked a big pomegranate and handed it to Lei Tie. Tai, now I feel really free. Lei Tie gently kissed his lips. Wife, I have wronged you. Don't worry, no one will disturb us ever again. Qin Mian hugged him back and gave him a big hard kiss on the lips. On the way back, I've already thought about it. We'd better hire a private teacher for the two children. Like in Dongyang Academy, we can arrange winter vacation and summer vacation for the children, and then we can take them out for sightseeing. Lei Tie pursed his lips. We haven't been out alone for a long time, just you and me. Qin Mian rubbed his hot face and looked directly into his man's eyes with a smile. Well then, let the children study in school this year and hire a private teacher for them next year. Lei Tie immediately nodded, his eyes became incomparably scorching hot. Qin Mian held Lei Tie's head in both hands and kissed him. Lei Tie's eyes flashed and responded with the same intensity. They finally broke away from the bondage of the imperial court. The kiss was the release of their inner feelings. After a good while, when they were aware that there would be on fire if they continue, they released each other. Staring at each other's ruddy and swollen lips, their hearts were agitated once more and their fervent eyes entangled for a long time. Standing in the distance, Uncle Chuan and Aunt Chuan could feel the ambiguities around the two masters even with their heads lowered. Lei Tie silently kissed his wife's eyebrows and then held his hand as they walked to their home. Aunt Chuan came to clean the house every 2 days. The house was almost spotless, as if the people who lived here had never left. Qin Mian nodded with satisfaction and told Uncle Chuan, Uncle Chuan, today is a good day. Pass my words, all servants in the household will be rewarded with a month's salary. Yes. Many thanks, eldest master and little master. Lei Tie lightly said, henceforth, just call old lord and lady. Qin Mian glanced at him with a forced smile, not saying anything. Uncle Chuan replied, yes. Aunt Chuan said, my old lord and lady, this old woman is going to prepare the meal. Qin Mian waved his hand and said, no need. Uncle Chuan, go to see if Steward Fu needs any help. Aunt Chuan, go pick some fresh vegetables. I'll prepare the meal myself. Yes, my lady. Aunt Chuan was very quick in her work, and soon she came with basket of vegetables. Besides some fresh vegetables and fruits, there were 2 strips of cured meat and a dried salted duck in the basket. After putting down the basket, she left purposely. Qin Mian caught a fish from the magical space, took out some fresh meat, and prepared the meal with great interest. When he was in Kui County, he was busy from morning to night, so he had little time to cook for his family. Now that he came home, he had to make up to his family. Lei Tie didn't have to be ordered, he went to deal with the ingredients. Lei Xiangji, Lei Xiangli, Qian Shi and Sun Shi walked quickly into the hedge yard, carrying things in their hands. Dagur and eldest sister-in-law, you are finally back. Qin Mian went out, shook the water on his hands, and said with a smile, you're all here. Come in and sit down. Lei Xiangji put down the sausages and cured meat in his hands. Eldest sister-in-law. Since you and eldest brother haven't been at home for such a long time, we figured that there shouldn't be much meat in your house, so we took some from home and brought them to you. You're just in time. I'm cooking. Qin Mian invited the 4 people inside. Come in and sit down. Lei Xiangli said, you're busy, we won't stay today. We'll come back tomorrow to talk with you too. Qin Mian didn't insist. All right, I won't keep you. Be careful on your way. Continue what you're doing, eldest sister-in-law. After sending off Lei Xiangji and the others, Qin Mian continued to cook. 7 dishes later, which consisted of sweet and sour meat, sweet and sour carp, chicken with mushroom and chestnut, braised lobster, lettuce with minced garlic, stir-fried spinach and soy sauce, and corn ribs soup. The setting sun had set behind the mountains. Qin Mian asked Lei Tier to call their 2 sons to come back for dinner. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan ran into the house covered in sweat. Dai all smells really good. Can we start eating now? Lei Rulan looked at the dishes all over the table with admiration. Qin Mian saw the sweat on the faces of the 2 little boys. Tai, wipe the sweat on their bodies. Don't let them catch a cold. Lei Tie scooped up a basin of cold water, heated it directly with his qi and motioned to his 2 sons to wash their faces and hands. Son, what about Dian Bai and the others? Qin Mian asked casually. Lei Rulan said, they went to the mountain. Qin Mian responded with a sound, expressing that he got it and was not worried about their safety. After Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan washed, Lei Tie wrung out the face towel with warm water and put it into their clothes to wipe the sweat on their backs. Qin Ruki couldn't bear it and burst out laughing. Leaning on his father's thigh, he turned his head and said, Lao Dai, it tickles. Qin Mian came out with bowls and chopsticks. When he saw this, he smiled. This child laughed less so at this time, he looked especially cute. When you're done, we can start dinner. Dai, I've washed. Let me scoop dishes for you and Lao Dai, requested Lei Rulan. All right. Qin Mian sat down at the table with a smile. Today, your Lao Dai and myself are waiting for you and your Gurgur to serve us. No problem. The 2 brothers answered with a clear and melodious voice. One carried a bowl, while the other scooped rice into the bowl. Qin Ruki held the rice bowl in both hands and handed it to Qin Mian. Dai has worked hard. Have a meal, Dai. All right, my sons are truly good boys. Qin Mian felt warmth in his heart. He put his arms around his son's small shoulders and gave him a kiss on his forehead. The 2 brothers then gave Lei Tie a bowl of rice and also got a word of praise, good boys. The family enjoyed a delicious dinner in a warm atmosphere. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan were also tired today. After taking a bath, they went to bed and soon fell asleep one after another. After taking a bath, Qin Mian and Lei Tie went to the bedroom on the 2nd floor. After some affectionate moments, they embraced each other and fell asleep. The next morning, Qin Mian woke up amidst the sound of birds and the fragrance of fruits. He heard the heave-ho of Lei Tie and his 2 sons practicing in the yard. He put on his inner garments at the head of the bed and went to the veranda. He smiled as he looked at the 3 figures below. Lei Tie was the first to notice him. He looked up, with calm and profound tenderness flooded in his eyes. Qin Mian gave him a flying kiss, went into the room to get properly dressed and went downstairs. The pot was warm with delicious beef and spinach porridge. Qin Mian had a taste and the delicious food made his eyes smile. There was no need to say that although his family's poker face couldn't cook rice or dishes, his level of cooking porridge even made him concede that the man was better qualified. As for how his skill of cooking porridge came about, well, let's not mention it. After breakfast, Qin Mian and Lei Tie went to Kailan Mountain Villa together to ask the imperial bodyguards to have another day off and return to the capital the next day. The leader of the imperial bodyguard also planned to take a day off, so he stayed with his subordinates. Mian instructed steward Fu to entertain them with care. Thinking that they had just returned to the village, Mian didn't immediately send the boys to the village school. In the morning, the family of 4 went together to deliver gifts brought back from the capital to the villagers, and then went to visit their farmland. Near noon, Lei Xiangji's family and Lei Xiangli's family came. The adults of the 3 families chatted about the recent situation together, while several children played together. It was very lively. The lunch was eaten at Mian's home, with Aunt Fu and Aunt Chuan cooking together. Both of them had good cooking skills. Mian and Lei Tie drank a few glasses of wine with Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli. Everyone enjoyed the meal. In the afternoon, Mian and Lei Tie took a look at the account books of several workshops at home, and then went to visit their several shops in the town together. During the period when the family was away, the operation of the workshops and the shops was normal and nothing upsetting happened. Mian was very satisfied and generously gave all the persons in charge red envelopes sealed with 100 tael, while all the employees were rewarded with 1 tael. The next day, Mian and Lei Tie personally sent the imperial bodyguards away from Green Mountain Village and took their 2 sons by the hand to the village school. End chapter.